when the sacred angel sword and the dark demon sword were simultaneously placed before his eyes. He did not hesitate to pick up the demon sword, but it was not because he did not want to choose the angel sword, but because between the two swords, only the demon sword resonated with him. However, he was not surprised by this, as if this had been predetermined. Even if you were to live again, would you still choose me? It turned out that in his previous life he had used the demon sword, becoming the strongest assassin of the empire. But in the end, he had to die a humiliating death, betrayed by the brother he had trusted his whole life. If he were given a new life by his father, he would live differently. Then he would only trust himself personally, seizing what he wanted without having to obey anyone but himself. Finally, heaven did not fail him. He was given a new chance to restart his life. This time he was determined to walk his own path. Would Cybervert succeed on the path he chose? What challenges would he face? Let's dive into the content to find out. In a desolate land, a battle was taking place. Everyone surrounded a man in black. A nagging voice constantly echoed in the man in black's head. "You must live for the clan." That's what my father always said. He meant I shouldn't expect anything, just live like a shadow next to my brother. The man in black knelt on the ground, his hands powerless. It seemed he had been drained of his last ounce of strength. From a distance, someone approached, exclaiming, "What a priceless scene!" The man in black, his face covered in blood, slightly looked up. Surrounding him were countless knights looking on with caution. Meanwhile, that voice continued to mock a single knight fighting against the continent's strongest commanders. On the ground lay numerous knights who had fallen due to the man in black's resistance. A man dressed like a monk standing out among the praising crowd. "That guy's younger brother is different. Quite interesting." Cyan Vert, his name called Saiyan, coldly looked at the person before him, Boris. Boris showed a despicable expression no different from a pervert. Cyan summoned his black sword and questioned him. "Who instigated you?" "The king." A red-black mist enveloped him. Boris was pushed back by the oppressive feeling Cyan created. He frowned and said, "That disgusting black fog, so the rumors were true. You are Mrs. Assassin." Cyan then unleashed his own power, his aura overwhelming everything around. Boris gritted his teeth and said, "Your misorganization is like a fleeting mist to us, the Knights of Light. I will report to my superiors that I have eliminated the accursed one who dared to ally with heretics." Saiyan refused to yield, gripping his sword provocatively. "All right, just try. Even if I give you a month after this battle, I guarantee you won't have any teeth left to complain with." Boris showed no fear, confidently replying, "If you intend to use your secret power, you'd better give up. There's a 9-star magic barrier here." Saiyan thought to himself, "I have to find a way out of here, and expose the culprit behind this to him." Saiyan's eyes blazed red. He raised his sword in challenge. "A barrier! I'll tear it into 100 pieces." Suddenly, a voice called out, "Enough, Saiyan." A man in golden armor approached. Boris immediately stepped aside, bowing respectfully. Upon seeing who had arrived, Saiyan was stunned. His earlier aura also vanished. He silently recalled the words, "You must live for the clan. That's what my father always said." Acho's older brother represents this clan. Acho Vert's success is also Cyan Vert's success. And the person who arrived was none other than Saiyan's older brother Acho. Saiyan was astonished, only realizing later the culprit behind it all was Acho. While Cyan was still stunned, Acho had approached him. Saiyan couldn't believe this. His body slumped. His whole body felt as if it were being crushed. Acho calmly said, "It seems you're confused because I appeared here." The two brothers faced each other, but the scene became extremely awkward. Saiyan, still clinging to hope, asked, "What is this?" Acho calmly said, "Saiyan, you have fulfilled your duties very well, to the clan, to the people, and also, to me." The last two words seemed to flip a switch in Saiyan. He heard Acho's excuse, "So I just wanted you to shed that burden?" Saiyan asked in confusion, "I don't understand. Did I do something wrong?" Acho frowned and said, "Did something wrong? That terrifying mist, you're no better than a murderer. I can't even consider you human anymore." Saiyan lowered his head without refuting. He hadn't expected Acho to use his power as a reason to kill him. Meanwhile, Acho still acted righteously, blaming Cyan as if he were in the right. You've deceived everyone for so long, and yet you still haven't realized your sins. Cyan's face was covered in blood. His mind was filled with swirling thoughts. A murderer. My sins. What nonsense is he spouting? Cyan's eyes were now filled with hatred. His eyes blazed red. Cyan recalled. The succession war in the kingdom. The Demon King's army's raid. The war to unify the continent. It was I who helped you achieve everything. Just because I was born to serve you. Cyan angrily slammed his fist down. He thought to himself, and now you abandon me. I've worked like a horse for you for 20 years. Cyan's body erupted in a black mist. Cyan's body was covered in blood. He told himself, it doesn't matter if this body is exhausted. I will use all my strength. As long as I can destroy you. Resentful thoughts erupted, accompanied by an immense, sky-filling magical power. The surrounding knights were terrified. He still has so much magical power. Impossible, this isn't human anymore. Cyan held his sword ready in a fighting stance. He sneered mockingly, how foolish. The hero is trying to kill his own younger brother just out of fear. Aren't you ashamed? These words seemed to have hit Acho's sore spot. Veins bulged on his forehead. Cyan charged forward with his sword, a red mist surrounding his body. Acho and Cyan exchanged many blows. It could be seen that their strengths were almost equal. Just once. Cyan accelerated, thinking to himself, once is enough. Looking at Acho resisting, Cyan charged with all his might, thinking, if I can hit his weak spot, he won't be able to recover. Just as Cyan swung his sword, a shield formed in front of Acho, blocking the attack. Cyan was astonished. He looked around and understood the problem. Boris had helped Acho. Cyan angrily cursed, damn it, Boris. A contemptuous voice rang out, scolding, you lowly bastard. Then an attack pierced through Cyan's abdomen. His own black sword fell to the ground. Acho, holding the sword that pierced his younger brother's abdomen, looked disappointed. Because you are my younger brother. I intended to be lenient to give you a painless death. But you revealed your true self. Acho frowned, continuing in a righteous tone. I always knew you were a demon. Fortunately, I never trusted you from the beginning. These words were like a huge shock to someone like Cyan, who had devoted himself to Acho. Acho coldly kicked Cyan's weak body hard. Then, without any pity, he turned and said to Boris, let's go. Boris happily bowed and replied, yes, my lord. Cyan lay on the ground, his body completely drained of strength. He looked up at the distant sky and silently cursed, damn it. Cyan's thoughts wandered. Is this my end? I've lived a foolish life. His eyes slowly closed. Cyan cursed himself, idiot. Suddenly, Acho sensed something was wrong and turned his head. It turned out Cyan had struggled up and was rushing towards him. Cyan shouted, pouring all his strength into this attack. Just as the sword was at Acho's neck, a beam of light erupted, sending Cyan flying. In the endless darkness, Cyan seemed to hear a voice calling, young master Cyan. He jolted awake, clutching his neck and gasping for breath. A maid, looking angry, scolded him, how much longer do you plan to sleep? Get up quickly. You need to prepare, young master. Cyan, terrified, called her name, Emily. Why are you here? At this moment, he felt something was wrong. Cyan observed Emily and assessed. It's been almost 20 years since I last saw her. She looks exactly the same as the last time we met. While Cyan was bewildered, Emily was clutching her small, frightened heart and asked, what are you saying? Are you still not awake? Cyan paid no attention to her. He looked around. This place I remember now. It's the room I lived in as a child. The decorations here are still the same. Suddenly, he realized something and raised his hand to touch his face. Wait. Have I returned to being a child? Emily, with her hands on her hips, called out loudly, young Master Cyan, making him look up in bewilderment. Emily, with a look of worldly wisdom, said, you're trying to stall so you don't have to go to training, right? Snap out of it and let's go. Cyan didn't remember for a moment. He asked blankly, training? What training? As soon as the question was asked, the atmosphere in the room became silent. At the Vert family duchy today was a beautiful, cloudless, rainless day. Seyon gazed at the shining sun and thought to himself, I've definitely returned to the past. He wondered in confusion, could this be the film flashing before my eyes before death? Recalling current events, Seiyan suddenly realized, I remember now, 20 years ago in the founding year 985 March 1st, 1 year after I entered the academy. Every year the duchy organizes a sparring training session. My father, the master of this duchy, Duke Ver, also participates, making it a significant event. My opponent is Ver. He's my age, my half-brother. His mother, Margaret Erzet, is the Duke's wife. Thanks to that, Grenz receives a lot of attention, even though we are both the youngest in the family. Saiyan silently recalled his useless self back then and thought, I was a spoiled child. After being ridiculed in this match, I became a laughingstock for everyone. At that time, Saiyan's father had angrily said, don't try to do anything. This very match is the reason father no longer cares about you. Emily worriedly whispered to him, why don't you surrender? Saiyan calmly replied, it's okay, winning is all that matters. He thought dejectedly, even the maid despises me. As soon as he drew his sword, Saiyan was startled. He tried holding the sword. It was just a sword. Why is it so heavy? My strength is still the same as back then. Emily waved her hand and warned, don't get hurt, young master. Saiyan gripped the sword, lost in thought. This feeling, it's not a dream nor an illusion before death. I've never heard that casting a spell could cause such strong hallucinations. Thinking of this, he pursed his lips tensely. Have I really returned to the past? Stepping onto the dueling platform, Grenz arrogantly mocked, you're not running away, are you? At this moment, only one thought appeared in Saiyan's mind. So can I change the future? He anxiously looked to the side. Duke Vert raised his hand to signal, begin. As soon as the words were spoken, Grenz charged with his sword. With a smug expression, he yelled, where are you looking, you fool? Grenz laughed cheerfully and swung his sword down. Saiyan, witnessing it all, thought coldly, what's this? Is he a snail or something, to be so slow? Saiyan took a step back. Grenz thus lost his momentum. He instinctively thrust his sword into the ground. Losing face, Grenz gritted his teeth and cursed, dodging, huh, you coward? Just as he was about to attack Saiyan, Saiyan gently swung his sword, knocking Grenz's weapon away. Then he added a kick to Grenz's knee. He shed tears in pain, but for the sake of face, he still tried to bite back the pain. Finally, unable to bear it, Grenz lay on the ground, clutching his leg and crying out in pain. Grenz's mother, Margaret, anxiously shouted, Grenz! Saiyan's eyes blazed red. He thought coldly, now I just need to point my sword at his throat, and this duel will end. But it's not enough. Saiyan gripped his sword tightly. He remembered when he was young, Grenz always bullied him, dragging him out for amusement. Even when he started school, it was still the same. That despicable, smug face was something he couldn't forget. As such, Saiyan was left with only one thought: he had to trample him, to make him not dare to do that to him again. Saiyan gently prepared to kick Grenz. He told himself, in this life, I will carve out my own path. Meanwhile, Grenz was screaming in fear. As a result, Grenz lost the match. He lay on the floor foaming at the mouth, unconscious. Meanwhile, the Duke ordered Saiyan to visit him and also let him rest. Saiyan was suspicious. Was my victory that impressive? Saiyan glanced at the large knight beside him. Even escorted by the high-ranking knight, Aiken, the Duke's right-hand man. At this moment, Margaret and her servant approached. Saiyan didn't need to wait for her to arrive to guess what would happen next. He thought contemptuously, it seems she's about to talk about her son. She looked like she had just stepped in dog poop. Saiyan couldn't help but provoke, is Grenz okay? Madam? Margaret angrily gritted her teeth and scolded, you beat your own brother like that, and you still dare to ask that question? You're truly shameless. Saiyan paid no attention to her hands in his pockets. He quickly walked past. With an undisguisably smug look, he said, a duel should be like that. See you later. Unexpectedly, Margaret said, that's why bastards like you shouldn't be treated like one's own child. The more she spoke, the more agitated she became. Margaret continuously berated him. Like mother, like son. It's all because of your filthy mother. You should have been begging on the streets. Yet you dare to cause trouble. You should be grateful. Those words enraged Saiyan. He turned his head, revealing his blazing red eyes and terrifying face. He thought to himself, she's gone too far. Should I kill her? Saiyan smirked cunningly. More than anyone he knew best how to torment her. I'll make her slowly feel the pain. Saiyan slowly spoke. Madam knows I'll be going to the academy with Grenz. Right? Margaret immediately became wary. What do you mean? Saiyan smiled sinisterly, threatening, you surely want your son to graduate intact, don't you? I guess you're not that worried about your son, are you, madam? Margaret gritted her teeth, wanting to curse. You! Her blood boiled. She raised her hand. You disrespectful thing! How dare you! Saiyan looked expectantly at the knight beside him who had stopped Margaret. Excuse me, madam. That person politely said, the Duke has summoned the young master for an urgent matter. I don't think we can delay any longer. We must go immediately. The knight's words were impeccable but conveyed a sense of impatience to the listener. Margaret gritted her teeth, though unwilling she could do nothing else. Saiyan smugly hid behind the knight. The Duke's command was supreme, and he was being protected by the knight who received that command. A knight who didn't even yield to the Duke's wife, a kind and trustworthy person. Saiyan was led to the Duke's room. After knocking a few times, he heard a voice from inside, "Come in." Saiyan stepped into the room and respectfully greeted the youngest son of the Vert clan, Saiyan. May I pay my respects, father? Saiyan bowed his head, thinking, it's been nearly 15 years since we last met privately like this. Duke Willius Vert spoke and gestured, sit down. He was the great lord of Velias, a territory in the west of the Usopp kingdom. The world also knew him by another name, the guardian of the continent, the hero who once stopped the invasion of demons. With his terrifying magical power and profound wisdom, this man carried a responsibility no one forced upon him. Until his last breath in the battle against the Demon King's army, what he wanted was nothing less than peace for this entire continent. But my memory of him is different, a volunteer, spending his whole life serving others a fool. Saiyan maintained an innocent expression while judging Willius in his heart. Willius spoke first, breaking the silence. Your eyes followed and accurately dodged the sword. Saiyan was bewildered, not yet understanding what he said. Willius then pointed out, the moment Grenz charged, you looked straight at the swinging sword and turned to dodge the blow. Willius had pointed out all the characteristics of Saiyan's match today. Then he asked, when did you learn to wield a sword? Saiyan tensed up. As always, he was very sharp. He tried to appear calm and replied, it's not really learning. I've been practicing by myself every night. Willius, of course, didn't believe this reason and asked again, as I recall, you had no interest in swordsmanship. Why would you hide your abilities? Saiyan scratched his head, looking embarrassed. Actually, I didn't want to attract attention. Willius continued, even so, you truly did your best to defeat Grenz. But, hearing Willius's pause, Saiyan was startled. Willius mentioned his final kick and said, wasn't what you did afterwards superfluous? Saiyan immediately grasped the main point. So father is asking to test me. Is he trying to gauge my abilities? No. He then found a seemingly legitimate explanation and replied, I wanted to prove myself. Willius asked doubtfully, Prove what? Saiyan answered frankly, prove that I'm better than Grenz. Although he and I share the same bloodline, that's also the meaning of the duel, I concluded. As soon as the words ended, Willius burst out laughing. He joyfully praised, very good, a clear answer, accurately demonstrating your class. I didn't expect you to be so talented. I'm very happy. Willius thought, one day you will surely become Akko's capable right-hand man. As soon as Acho was mentioned, Saiyan flinched. His whole world seemed to collapse. What? How did I become his assistant? Memories from before his death flashed before his eyes. Saiyan looked at Willius with resentment. As before, he still only thought of Akko. Saiyan clenched his fist, trying to keep himself calm. Willius didn't notice anything unusual and continued to speak cheerfully. This isn't a trophy, but I want to reward you for the match just now. If you want anything, just say it. Sayan seemed determined. He thought to himself, then I will destroy everything. Everything that bastard Acho wants to do. Thinking this, Sayan confidently said, what I want is… Returning to the present, Emily screamed in terror after hearing Sayan's wish, what you want to go to the battlefield? Sayan calmly sat on the bed and replied, yes. Nothing is certain yet. Emily screamed, crazy. Have you lost your mind? Do you know what kind of place that is? Full of terrifying demonic beasts. Thinking of that, Emily shivered. Velias, the western territory of the Usopp Kingdom. This is the only place on the continent considered a battlefield. However, within this territory, only Limi Valley is the front line. It is a fierce arena where the war with demons has been going on for hundreds of years. Therefore, my father, who had strongly opposed it from the beginning, set a condition. I must prove myself worthy of going to Limi Valley within a month. I don't know what he will base his decision on. Saiyan looked at his weak body and told himself, during that time, I must strengthen my physical power. Compared to my peers, I'm still weaker, unless I'm lucky enough to retain my combat instincts from before regressing. And the little magical power I feel inside, if I train my body with my abilities, I will surely make good use of it. Great, I have to start training today. Looking at the red mist in his palm, Saiyan became even more determined. Suddenly a shout came from outside the door. Saiyan! A girl burst into Saiyan's room. Recognizing who it was, Saiyan exclaimed in surprise, Alice! Before he could understand what was happening, Alice rushed over and grabbed his collar. Emily asked blankly, are you all right, Miss Alice? But Alice ignored Emily and angrily scolded Saiyan, are you crazy? I heard you asked father to go to the battlefield, right? Saiyan, choked by the grip on his collar, struggled to say, Alice, let me go first. Alice let go of Saiyan's collar and looked at her weak younger brother lying on the ground. She said annoyedly, it seems you beat Grenz, so you're arrogant, huh? That's not going to happen. Alice seriously ordered, follow me to the city wall quickly. The sky had now darkened. On the city wall, Alice faced Saiyan and ordered, when you draw your sword, we'll begin. If you can withstand my attack for 3 minutes, I'll let you go to battle. Saiyan helplessly asked, do we really have to go this far, Alice? Alice replied seriously, I don't need to know. Just answer me one question. Are you aiming for the title of this clan? Alice's eyes sharpened. Saiyan understood the problem and thought dejectedly, so that's why she has to do this. I don't even have the slightest interest in it. Alice, seeing he didn't answer, assumed her thoughts were correct. She drew her sword and said, so it's true, huh? Draw your sword? Saiyan wearily drew his sword. He had only rested for half a day after the match with Grenz. The whole day has been chaotic. Seeing Saiyan had drawn his sword, Alice charged straight at him. Saiyan thought she was joking, but it turned out to be real. He stared blankly ahead. Alice quickly attacked him. Fortunately, Saiyan instinctively from his previous life managed to block this blow. This astonished Alice. Impossible. The kid blocked my sword. He's only 10 years old. While Alice was surprised, Saiyan was gritting his teeth to withstand the blow. Are you really going to use all your strength to fight a younger brother who is 7 years younger? Alice stepped back. She assessed, the blade of a willow sword is very thin. Yet the kid still managed to block my long sword. Or was it luck this time? Veins bulged on Alice's forehead. She gave a half smile and said, your intuition is better than I thought, huh, dear Saiyan? Upon seeing this smile, Saiyan felt a chill down his spine. He thought to himself, I'm doomed. He struggled to call out, Alice, hoping to receive some pity. But Alice paid no attention and charged again with a barrage of attacks. She spun and swung her sword, creating a beautiful technique. Saiyan struggled to block the heavy sword on his shoulder. He quickly used the sword to slide a distance. Taking the opportunity to escape Alice's restraint, Saiyan swung his sword at her. This terrified Alice, who had thought Saiyan was weak. Having just escaped her restraint, Saiyan took the opportunity to thrust his sword at Alice. But the difference in strength was too great. Saiyan gritted his teeth and cursed silently. Damn it! He put force into his wrist and spun the sword around. Then he quickly knocked Alice back. Seiyan jumped back, widening the distance between them. He landed on a nearby stone pillar. He panted, fear welling up inside him. That blow could have been really dangerous. If I hadn't turned my sword to change direction, then I would have killed her. Mist's sword skill. Thick bone mostly contains many skills that strike vital points for instant assassination. It's very difficult to fight without hitting the opponent's weak spot because my current strength is quite weak. Seiyan thought anxiously. How much time is left in those 3 minutes? His sword-wielding hand trembled slightly. He thought tensely, I'm compensating for my weak strength by imbuing the sword with magic. But I'm about to reach my limit. Meanwhile, Alice, angry because she couldn't defeat her younger brother, who was 7 years her junior, gritted her teeth and chanted a spell, Earth, Wind, Water, come and strengthen my blade's power. Saiyan recognized it as soon as he heard. He was startled and horrified. 6-star magic. Indeed, Alice had used the water sword technique to envelop her weapon. She got into a fighting stance, preparing to use all her strength. Saiyan cried inwardly, Is she trying to kill me? I thought this was just a test of strength. It seemed Alice's competitive spirit had surged. She said determinedly, I can't lose. Saiyan, witnessing this scene, felt helpless. It's over. I can see the killing intent just from the look in her eyes. Saiyan prepared a defensive stance. He thought anxiously, I'll fall off the city wall even if I block this technique. I can only believe that it will happen right after this. Thinking this, Saiyan immediately lunged forward. He rushed straight towards Alice, who was preparing her ultimate move. Saiyan, swinging his sword, prayed, Please come and stop the fight. Alice turned, preparing to attack. Saiyan screamed Aiken's name in his heart. Indeed, just as the two were about to collide, a voice shouted, Stop! Aiken grabbed Saiyan's collar with one hand and blocked Alice's sword with the other. The collision of the two swords created a huge shockwave across the city wall. Blue light illuminated everything. Aiken sternly called, Miss Alice, you are being too harsh on an opponent much younger than yourself. Saiyan sighed in relief. I was wondering when he would appear, but luckily just in time. It was also at this moment that Alice jolted awake and cried out. She hurriedly hugged Saiyan and wailed, I'm sorry, Saiyan. I must have lost my mind for a moment. Alice tearfully explained, I just wanted to stop you from going to the battlefield. I'm too obsessed with that, so… Saiyan helplessly felt his sister's tears. He told himself, this is so like her. She always overdoes everything. Saiyan's older sister, once an elite student among elites who achieved S in all subjects in the Royal Academy, where all talented children gather if they have talent in swordsmanship, magic, or other academic fields. Above all, her beauty was astonishing, so people called her a child of the gods from a young age. She underwent rigorous swordsmanship training. She was mentioned as a future guardian of the continent along with the eldest son, Acho Vert. But not long after joining the Knights of Light, she was assassinated. Memories of his past life flooded back. Saiyan moved, hugged Alice tightly, thinking, I miss you so much, Alice. This time I will protect you. Alice, bewildered, sensed Saiyan's unstable emotions and called his name Saiyan. Not getting a reply, Alice remembered something and turned to ask Aiken, Speaking of which, aren't you the Count's guardian knight? But the Count has already left for the battlefield. Aiken guiltily looked elsewhere and replied, I am under the Count's orders to protect the young master for a while, although I cannot tell you because I must keep it a secret. Saiyan knew his lie well. He sneered inwardly. I sensed his presence since I left the Count's office. Would he have appeared if this battle hadn't happened? But why did Father order Aiken to secretly protect me? Saiyan suddenly felt drowsy, his eyes about to close. He fell into Alice's arms and slept soundly. Alice sighed, her eyes looking at him with helpless affection. Looking at the star-filled night sky, she sighed. He's still like a child. The next day, Alice returned to the academy. Clearly, she returned here just for a bit to see Father before the graduation ceremony. At this moment, Saiyan was doing push-ups. He counted to 9. After a struggle, he managed the 10th push-up. Saiyan thought to himself, I feel I need to become stronger, so I've focused on strength training for the past 2 weeks. But 10 push-ups is my limit. I've been stuck at this limit for 2 weeks now. Realizing the harsh truth, Sayan was utterly desperate. He recalled his past self with envy. I used to be quite confident in my strength in my previous life. I want to return to how I was before. I need a solution to enhance my physical strength. Suddenly, Emily came in and announced, "Young master, a package has arrived from Miss Alice." Sayan joyfully asked, "Really?" Emily, holding her nose, presented a bottle full of a lingering scent and said, "What is this? It smells disgusting." Sayan only dared to reply in his heart, "It's a bit of hellhound blood I asked her to get for me. It's a rare item only found in Limi Valley, but I guess the rumor of it appearing in the black market is true." Sayan had just poured the vial of blood into a bowl. The contents inside were already bubbling furiously. He told himself, the blood of demonic beasts is considered poison due to its terrible smell as well as the burning sensation when used, but actually it permanently increases a user's mana and strength on the first use. Many people think this is just a false rumor, but I know it's true from my past life experience. Seeing Sayan pick up the bowl, Emily anxiously asked, "Young master, are you really going to drink it?" Sayan nodded in reply, adding a thought in his head, "Don't worry, Emily. I'm the only one who can adapt to your cooking." Sayan picked up the bowl and drank it in one go. His mind couldn't help but recall the past. "I still remember the first time. It was wild mushroom soup, right? My heart stopped after the first bite of that stuff. Compared to that soup, this thing?" The image of the soup bowl as a moving monster appeared in his mind. Sayan slammed the empty blood bowl onto the table. He hypnotized himself. "It's delicious." But his face looking like he was high-made, Emily wary. Suddenly, Sayan stood up abruptly and called, "Emily," making her blankly reply, "Yes?" Sayan's eyes blazed red. He smiled and said, "I'm going for a little walk." Sayan thought excitedly, "Now then, let's see if it works." Sayan went to an empty plot of land. Looking at this place quite far from the castle, Sayan sighed. "It's been a while since I last came here. I've been waiting for this moment for the past 2 weeks. A private moment where Aiken didn't follow me here because of frequent reports to father. He keeps following me, so annoying. I used to come here whenever I wanted to be alone." One day, Acho received a revelation from the god of light Lumindel. It was said that an ancient temple was hidden somewhere in these mountains. I didn't completely believe it, but there really was a place where mana flow concentrated. It seems to be somewhere around here. Of course, the god's revelation had come. Sayan excitedly channeled magic into his hand. He thought happily, "So only I know about this now." Sayan used magic to churn up the earth and stones under his feet. He thought smugly, "Acho, I bet you can't imagine what I'm doing right now. It seems to be right here." Indeed, after the earth and stones were churned up, a tunnel leading underground appeared. Sayan thought to himself, "Let's go." Sayan went deep inside, looking around and assessing, completely different from the last time I was here. This place is the ancient temple worshipping the god of light Lumindel, until the history of this land was erased. Due to the war between gods and demons 300 years ago, Sayan looked at the shining temple ahead. His indifferent face showed a sigh. Who could imagine this place existed right on the mountain behind the castle? Sayan walked to the altar, seeing the shining object in front. He was excited. "I see it. The master of this castle, it was none other than Acho's sword from his previous life." In the year 999 before the founding of the nation, August 12th, humanity finally succeeded in driving the Demon King's army out of Velius. The Demon King's army was many times stronger than humans. But humans found an ancient holy relic called the Weapon of the Gods, which helped them achieve victory. One of those holy relics, Duran Drak, was the holy sword imbued with the power of the god of light, Lumindel. This sword was perhaps the main reason humanity could defeat the demons. "And I will also die a bitter death in the future under this blade the one Acho Vert possesses. If I don't remember, it's fine, but remembering it makes this sword an eyesore." Sayan looked at the shining sword in front and thought, "It seems Duran Drak is related to my regression." Sayan reached out to touch the intricately carved surface of the sword. Not finding what he expected, Sayan sighed. But as predicted, nothing happened. He angrily kicked the sword hard. Saiyan turned around, gritting his teeth and cursing, lost all interest. What a useless sword. Done with this? Let's go. If the sword could talk, it would surely have cursed him back. Saiyan recalled the saying, once you step through the light, a strange shadow will appear. He strode towards the opposite side of the Duran Drac sword and found what he needed. There it is. A quick glance would make one think this is the shadow of a sword. But it's not. There's no shadow at all, he smiled happily. Placing his hand on where the shadow should be, Saiyan used his magic. He thought to himself, where there is light, there must be darkness. This is a passage leading to another room, a secret passage hidden beneath the Temple of Light. Saiyan followed the passage to a door. He slightly opened the door and peeked inside. Indeed, the sword he was waiting for appeared here, Saiyan said happily. There you are. My sword. Saiyan gripped the hilt. The demon sword Karam, different from the Duran Drac sword. This time upon touching the demon sword, a powerful energy surged out. The gem on the sword sparkled as if welcoming its new master. Saiyan excitedly raised the sword. Good morning, Karam. Swinging it a few times, Saiyan felt it wasn't like his previous life. He asked annoyedly, haven't you awakened yet? Oh, but that still didn't diminish Saiyan's happiness. He laughed excitedly. This familiar feeling is the best. Suddenly feel like slashing something fiercely. Suddenly, black mist rose from the ground. A shadow appeared and asked, hey kid, aren't you afraid? Don't you know the consequences of awakening me? Saiyan coldly replied, don't know. Does that mean this sword is mine now? That black shadow rose, revealing its enormous original form. It began to threaten, awakening the slumbering demon sword. It's too late for regrets, kid. The black shadow laughed cunningly with excitement. It quickly rushed over, roaring, your body now belongs to me. Unexpectedly, Saiyan only needed one hand to catch the black shadow's neck. He calmly watched the shadow, now in human form, struggling to breathe. You weren't in such a hurry before. The shadow struggled to speak. What are you? How can you touch me? Saiyan smiled smugly and said, I told you this sword is mine. The shadow refused to yield. It raised its hand, revealing its pinkish claws. It swung its hand to attack Saiyan, shouting, disappear. Taking the opportunity when Saiyan let go, it quickly retreated. The shadow warily looked at him. Who are you? Could it be you're the successor? In the shadow's eyes, Saiyan was enveloped in a strange, red-black mist. It wondered, why do I sense Iru's aura emanating from you? Saiyan calmly replied, that's right, I am Iru's successor. He sneered and said, your master has returned. Kneel. The demon sword, Karam. Karam angrily gritted his teeth and cursed, you're just a kid. I don't accept it. With that, Karam lunged to attack Saiyan but was blocked by Saiyan using his own body. Saiyan, though smiling while blocking, thought, it's probably useless to say more. The ultimate goal of a demon sword is to possess the wielder's body. Looking at Karam attacking with all its might, he thought to himself, I have no other choice. I have to yield a little. Thinking this, Saiyan slightly retreated, making Karam think it had the advantage and charged forward to attack again. Suddenly, Saiyan smiled cunningly. He used a technique to subdue the demon sword, causing Karam to fall to the ground, screaming in pain. Saiyan interrogated, I'll only say it once. Why don't you accept me as your master when I'm still being kind? Karam struggled against the oppression of that technique. It struggled to curse. How did you get that technique, you arrogant brat? Saiyan indifferently used the demon sword subduing technique, again causing Karam to hit its head on the ground. He continuously shouted, subdue, demon, sword, subdue, demon, sword, subdue, demon, sword. After a few times, Karam was now half buried in the ground. Saiyan pitifully spared it and asked, now what? Of course, Karam had no other choice but to say, I accept you. Seeing Karam's still insolent attitude, Saiyan was about to use that technique again. Karam immediately trembled and called out, Master. With everything settled, Saiyan stepped out of the door. He thought to himself, now I've also finished what needed to be done. Time to go back, huh? I've been away too long. Thinking this, Saiyan immediately took his sword and left. Karam, lying within the sword, joyfully exclaimed, "It's been so long since I've breathed such fresh air. So refreshing." Karam playfully crawled out of the sword, forming a small, adorable shadow. It spun around him and asked, "Hey, master, what's your name?" Saiyan indifferently replied, "Saiyan, Saiyan Virt." Karam was doubtful. "Saiyan, I've never heard this name. Did Aaron really choose a kid like you?" Saiyan seriously replied, "Yes, from my previous life." Karam was doubtful. "Previous life? What on earth are you talking about?" Saiyan nonchalantly said, "I've died once before." Karam thought in astonishment, "What?" Its eyes scrutinizingly looked at him. Suddenly, Saiyan walked up to the Duran Drak sword. Karam exclaimed, "Is he still asleep?" Saiyan then said, "He still has to wait for his master for another 20 years. Hearing him speak so confidently, Karam sneered, "You talk as if you know the future." Suddenly, Saiyan raised his sword and split the Duran Drak hilt in two. Looking at the sword falling to the ground, Karam was terrified. "What are you trying to do?" Saiyan smiled sinisterly, looking at the cut hilt in his hand. "Who knows? Maybe this will make the future more interesting." As dawn just broke, the carriage had set off, leaving the castle. The wheels stopped at a desolate piece of land. The carriage door opened. Saiyan in armor stepped down. He looked around and assessed. "I can't believe this day has come. Time flies so fast." Saiyan walked over to Willius and bowed. "Greetings, Duke." Willius spoke seriously. "I'll ask you one last time. Are you determined to brave the battlefield? If you want to withdraw, I won't stop you." Saiyan showed a determined expression and confidently replied, "Yes, father. My heart lies on the battlefield." Hearing that Willius didn't ask anymore, he turned and ordered Aiken open it. Aiken immediately replied, "Yes, my lord." He took out a scroll. Saiyan recognized it at a glance, a magic scroll. Are they planning to summon something? Aiken then unfurled the magic scroll. The magic circle within appeared. A beast slowly materialized right in front of them. Giant feet with sharp claws. A ferocious dog appeared, growling in front of Saiyan. He realized in astonishment, a demon hound. Saiyan smirked confidently. "A low-level beast from Limi Valley, huh?" Father and the knights must have put a lot of effort into preparing this test. Thinking this, he became even more excited, holding his sword at the ready. Surrounding them were knights, already gripping their sword hilts, ready to draw and assist at any moment. Saiyan also realized this. He pondered, will they charge in if the situation becomes dangerous? Willius stood behind with his arms crossed, seriously instructing, "You must take responsibility for your actions. So prove your abilities. Pass this test and show us." At the same time, Aiken was absent-mindedly thinking about the test. He recalled a few days ago when he was walking with his sword. Aiken, startled, looked at the person in front and asked, "Did the young master just say he wants to duel me?" Saiyan stood before him, feigning no other choice, and said, "There are only 3 days left before I have to fulfill my promise to father. I can't just keep swinging my sword in the air, right? I need to learn how to fight for real. You'll help me, right?" Saiyan put on a sincere face, imploring Aiken. He tensed up and replied, "This duel. At your age, young Master Grenz will—" Before Aiken could finish, Saiyan said, "I don't know why, but every time he sees me, he runs away." So, he recalled Grenz's desperate escape and terrified screams. "Don't come near me," Aiken thought in despair. So troublesome. Unable to find any other reason, Aiken helplessly agreed, "If you want to, then all right." Saiyan beamed with joy. Aiken raised his sword and set a condition. "Instead, I will only use the scabbard to fight you. I'll focus on defense. You can attack with all your might." Saiyan drew his sword and replied with a bright smile, "Thank you, Mr. Aiken." Suddenly he spoke, "Ah, I have one more thing to ask of you. From now on, no matter what happens, don't tell father anything." "This is an order." Saiyan's demeanor changed instantly. He uttered a threat to Aiken. He frowned suspiciously. In just a moment, Saiyan lunged forward, attacking Aiken with blinding speed. He hurriedly raised his sword to block the unexpected blow. Aiken silently assessed, "Heavy sword. I can't believe that's the sword of a 10-year-old child." Saiyan used his advantage in physique and speed, quickly moving to the side. Aiken thought in amazement, "He's too fast." Suddenly, Saiyan disappeared from before him. It turned out Saiyan had jumped into the air, somersaulting backward, startling Aiken. Since when? He quickly calmed down and turned around. The two swords clashed, creating a powerful gust of wind. Saiyan didn't give up and moved to another spot to continue attacking. His eyes blazed red, full of killing intent. His small body quickly rushed forward. The two exchanged a few more blows. Aiken blocked all of Saiyan's attacks. He jumped back, sighing in admiration. "As expected, I still can't defeat you." Saiyan sheathed his sword, turned, and said, "Very good, Aiken. Thank you for helping me." Aiken panted and praised, "Very good, young master." He thought to himself, "I didn't expect the weak young master, Saiyan, to have improved so much." The memory of Saiyan's bright, cheerful smile appeared. Returning to the present, Aiken told himself, "If my intuition is correct, the young master, now, has been able to pass his test." At this moment, Saiyan was facing the demon hound. The demon hound suddenly lunged, preparing to attack. Saiyan thought tensely, "It's charging." The demon hound opened its mouth wide, revealing its sharp teeth. Suddenly, it saw a sword strike coming. Saiyan struck, forcing it to change direction to one side. He coldly observed and thought, "With my current strength, fighting a monster is too much. I have to end this battle as quickly as possible. I'll finish it with just this blow." Thinking this, Saiyan immediately charged forward to attack. He stood straight, controlling his wrist to spin the sword. The slash stopped right at the demon hound's neck. Not only that, Saiyan also jumped into the air, thrusting his sword to pin the demon hound's head to the ground. All of this stunned the surrounding knights. Willius smiled with satisfaction, looking at the demon hound's corpse on the ground. Saiyan couldn't help but think, "What a waste! This much blood should fill several bottles." He pulled the sword from the monster's head, thinking to himself, "If I do this here, they'll think I'm crazy. At least I should have brought a cup." Willius approached from behind, clapping and praising, "Well done, Saiyan." Then he turned and said, "See you on the battlefield." His cloak billowed, making Willius think he looked cool. Saiyan bowed and respectfully replied, "Thank you, father." At this moment, Karam slowly crawled out. "Master." It angrily asked, "Do you take me for a fruit knife or something?" Saiyan guiltily replied, "Of course not. You're a demon sword. Why do you ask?" Karam gritted his teeth and cursed, "Then use me, damn it. You have to absorb my blood to get stronger." It painfully flew to the demon hound's corpse, begging, "Please, just let me drink a sip." Witnessing this, Saiyan could only feel helpless. He spoke to comfort it, "Don't worry." Saiyan smiled sinisterly, a black mist enveloping his body. He held Karam in his hand and explained, "Because soon I will use you for important matters. Just wait." On the battlefield, ferocious monsters madly attacked all around. The knights immediately surrounded them, shouting, "It's ogres, ogres from the northwest." They quickly rang the bell to announce. Willius spurred his horse to the front and ordered, "Form a defensive line and destroy them for me. Don't let any survive." The monster containment campaign began. The knights immediately raised their swords in response. A giant magic circle was created covering the monsters. It divided into smaller circles, appearing under the ogre's feet. From the magic circles, ropes emerged, tightly binding the ogre's limbs. Taking this opportunity, Willius ordered, "Attack." The knights quickly charged in, slashing and killing the monsters. Everyone focused on eliminating them completely to prevent future troubles. Especially the giant ogre leader, its size could be 10 times that of a normal person. But the knight still coldly charged with his sword. With just one slash, that person beheaded the ogre. The head fell right in front of Saiyan. While he calmly looked straight at the head, Emily, following behind, screamed in terror, "Mommy!" she cried, and called, "Young master." Emily still couldn't understand and asked, "Why would you want to come to a place like this? Aren't you afraid?" Saiyan didn't answer her. He looked at everything around and sighed. "Coming back here makes me so nostalgic. This place is still like hell." Willius, after finishing his business, also came to him and asked, "Saiyan, how does it feel to be on the front line?" Saiyan's expression didn't change at all. He gently replied, "I'm just a little nervous." Willius instructed, "You see, the battlefield is also a death ground. You don't know when you'll lose your life, so don't let your guard down." Sayan seriously replied, "Yes, I remember, Father." He thought to himself. On the front line, this kind of situation is all too normal. There had to be 3 or 4 battles a day. Each battle had its own detailed countermeasures, using skilled high-ranking knights as the core to deal with all the monsters intentionally breaking through the front line. The battle ended. The whole group returned to their tents to rest. Seiyan peeked out from his tent to observe outside. "The position of my tent is in the rearmost area, also the safest place," Seiyan thought annoyedly. "The guards are always so vigilant like this. There's not even a chance for Karam to suck blood. Do I really have to wait until dinner time?" He turned and saw Emily trembling under the blanket, wondering, "What are you doing?" "Emily?" Emily poked her head out from under the blanket and screamed, "Didn't the Duke say we wouldn't know when we'd die? So I'm scared." Saiyan sighed helplessly. "Unbelievable. So you're planning to pack up and go home?" Seeing his expression, Emily angrily scolded, "Do you think you can go back? When will you be able to be independent without me?" Emily gritted her teeth and criticized, "Monsters are everywhere. Suppose I run away, who will take care of you, young master?" She angrily stepped out of the tent. "Let's go, it's almost dinner time." Saiyan suddenly asked, "Emily, what about the cloak I asked you for?" But Emily had already left without bothering to answer him. Veins bulged all over Saiyan's face. He thought to himself, "Should I fire her? Is this how she treats her young master?" At night, Saiyan gently placed a 1-1 doll resembling himself on the bed and covered it with a blanket. He carefully looked for a while and thought to himself, "This should be okay, huh?" Suddenly a voice asked, "Even in a place like this, you still plan to go out and train?" Saiyan, startled, replied, Did I wake you up?" Emily dreamily rubbed her eyes and praised, "You're so diligent. If the Duke knew, he would surely be very proud." Hearing that, Saiyan contemptuously pulled up his hood and instructed, "I'm leaving now. You just carry on as usual." "I'm still sleeping, remember," Emily tiredly replied. "Yes." Saiyan used magic to increase his speed. He thought to himself, "Because this is the front line. The soldiers' night shifts are frequently reinforced, and they guard quite strictly. So if I don't leave the camp at this hour, it's hard to act freely." Thinking this, Saiyan immediately ran out of the encampment area. He used the third technique, thick fog. The mist descended, allowing him to jump off the cliff. Landing on the ground, Saiyan realized, if I remember correctly, there are a bunch of monsters here. Indeed, a pack of bloodthirsty demon hounds had surrounded him. Saiyan's eyes turned red. He smiled sinisterly and assessed, "A perfect place to use Karam to let it absorb blood, right, Karam?" With that, he summoned the demon sword. Karam, smelling the scent it had craved for so long, excitedly said, "The smell of blood is so strong. Master, I don't think I can control myself anymore. Hurry up, let me slash something." Saiyan didn't disappoint it and raised his sword, looking at the demon hound still unaware of the danger and charging. Saiyan excitedly rushed forward, saying, "All right, Karam, I'll indulge you." He slashed fiercely towards the pack of demon hounds. Then he spun his sword, preparing a move from behind. He used the Miststorm sword dance technique. In just one go, he eliminated countless demon hounds. His agile body and sharp blade left the monsters no time to resist. The night was still long. The sky was still pitch black. Saiyan forcefully stabbed a straw into the neck of a dead demon hound. Then he took a cup to catch its still warm blood. As soon as the cup was full, Saiyan raised it and drank the blood immediately. In one gulp, he drained all the blood he had just collected. Not only that, Saiyan was also a considerate master. He held Karam up to the cup and offered, "Here you go." Karam excitedly exclaimed, "After awakening, this is the first time I've felt so refreshed." Saiyan said refreshingly, "Very good. Let's continue practicing like this." Karam supported, "Look at these bugs first. How long will it take to get stronger?" Saiyan smirked confidently. "Don't worry, the night is still young. There are still many monsters." In Saiyan's sight was an army of monsters preparing to attack. Karam, of course, also saw this. It trembled and cried out, So exciting! At the same time, on the mountainside, a convoy of carriages was moving. A white-haired young girl sat in the carriage looking out the window. Opposite her, a worried voice advised, "I still think the front line is too dangerous. Let's go back, princess." The one called princess maintained her decision and said, "I've already said don't treat me like a child. I am the princess of this kingdom. I have a responsibility to help my father the king. How many more times do you want me to say it?" Her voice was full of seriousness. The princess threatened, "If you mention it again, I'll really get angry." The servant awkwardly replied, "Yes, princess." Suddenly, the maid spoke. "Ah, speaking of which, there's news that the youngest son of the Vert's clan is also going to battle. He's about your age, your highness." The princess asked in surprise, "Is he bringing his youngest son?" The maid quickly explained, "The duke didn't intend to bring him. It was the young master who requested it himself. You two are the same age. Why don't you get acquainted with him?" The princess shyly turned her head and said, "You act as if I care about such trivial matters." "Forget it. I need to sleep a bit." The maid, thinking she had angered her, hurriedly bowed and replied, "Yes." A moment later, the princess suddenly asked, "What's his name?" The maid hurriedly replied, "It's Saiyan, your highness. I'm quite sure. His name is Saiyan Vert." The princess mumbled his name, Saiyan. "Saiyan Vert, huh?" The princess crossed her arms and looked out the carriage window. The gentle moonlight shone, revealing her beautiful face. A bird-like humanoid monster was slashed several times. It cried out in pain. Willius spurred his horse around, ordering, "Check if anyone is injured." The knights immediately shouted, "Everyone is fine, my lord." Willius nodded and continued, "Very good, return quickly." The knights obeyed and replied, "Yes, my lord." He looked around, deep in thought. In the distance, a sword was pulled from the monster's body. Saiyan stepped on its corpse side and sheathed his sword. Willius approached and asked, "How could you adjust to survive your very first battle like this?" Saiyan bowed respectfully and replied, "I always learn new things every day, father." Of course, Willius didn't believe him and said, "Is that all? I thought you wanted to quickly return to the clan." Willius smiled gently. "You've endured here for quite a long time. Father is very proud of what you've accomplished on this battlefield." Saiyan thought in astonishment, "What, he's proud of me?" Willius turned to leave with Icon. Before leaving, he instructed, "Tomorrow, Father has something to discuss with you. Come to Father's tent early in the morning." Saiyan replied, "Yes, Father." He was still immersed in surprise at his sudden praise. He told himself, "Father has never treated me so well before, not even in my previous life." Night fell again. A giant monster swung its tail, wrecking everything around. Saiyan's feet slid backward. He gritted his teeth, looking at the monster before him. Looking at this enormous long monster, Saiyan recognized it immediately, a death worm. They usually only appear deep in the valley. Karam quickly offered, "Master, it seems you're in trouble. Please switch places with me. Let me possess you to fight." Saiyan sneered. "Switch places with you? You think I don't know what you want?" Karam confidently replied, "I swear it will only take a moment, and I'll switch back for you." Blue veins pulsed on the death worm's body, looking very gruesome. Seeing the slash marks on the monster's body heal, Karam immediately took the opportunity to persuade, "You see, it instantly recovers from its wounds. Continuing to attack it will only be futile." Saiyan also realized the current problem, thinking anxiously, "That's right, if this continues, it won't be good. It's been a month since I came to the front line." Recalling the monsters he had defeated, Saiyan told himself, "I've drunk the blood of countless monsters." But that's still not enough. Facing the giant monster rushing towards him, Saiyan sighed. "So be it." He said seriously, "I agree to switch places with you. Whatever you're planning, Karam." Karam said happily, "All right then, let's go." Saiyan used the ninth technique of the mist-form demon sword eruption. With Karam possessing him, he attacked the monster with just one slash. Saiyan thought to himself, "I will tear your thick skin into pieces." The death worm slashed, cried out in agony. Saiyan jumped into the air. Under the bright moonlight, he continued to use the mist sword technique 8 flower slash. He slashed hard from top to bottom along the length of the worm. The monster was thus cut in half. Cyan took the opportunity to add many more slashes, completely destroying the monster. At the same time, in another place, a group of people was examining the corpses of monsters on the ground. This thing has been dead for a while. Icon leading the knights assessed, the residual magic power here seems very large. Perhaps a demon did this. Willius looked at the blood on his hand and agreed. We cannot take this matter lightly. If it's related to the demon tribe, he ordered immediately search the area and destroy these corpses. The knights immediately shouted, "Yes, sir." Looking at the wound on the demon hound's neck, Willius pondered. This slash mark looks very familiar. Or am I mistaken? Willius frowned, not wanting to think about it anymore. Suddenly, Icon from behind called out, "My lord, you should see this." Willius walked over to him, wondering, "This is—" Icon nodded. "Yes, it's a death worm." Looking at the tragedy of the high-level monster before him, Willius was terrified. Who could have done this to it? He thought anxiously. Perhaps Bao is that organization. Meanwhile, on Saiyan's side, he was thinking about the recent incident. Demon Sword Incarnation, it allows Karam to control my body and can unleash all its power. But I can still control my body if she lets her guard down in combat. Recalling that scene, Saiyan lay on the bed thinking, that's why I let her control me when fighting monsters. I drank all the monsters' blood after defeating them. My strength has also increased a bit. If it were a month ago, I wouldn't have been able to stand it. Saiyan clutched his head, sat up, and groaned. My body hurts so much. Suddenly Karam spoke. I understand now. It then flew over and confidently said, You look like a kid, but you don't talk or behave like one. When you act with me, you're very fast and skilled. You're also very knowledgeable about the geography of Limi Valley. Your swordsmanship is as if you've practiced for at least 30 years. Furthermore, you said you've died once before, right? I'm sure of it. Karam smirked sinisterly. Facing Saiyan's surprised expression, it asked him, You were reincarnated, right? Unexpectedly, after hearing its conclusion, Saiyan looked at Karam as if looking at an idiot. Well, I said I've died once before, it's too obvious. Karam, embarrassed and angry, shouted, What's obvious? You didn't explain it to me. Saiyan indifferently said, I'm too lazy. Karam clicked its tongue and then wondered, Anyway, killing someone like you isn't easy, I guess. You were killed by the owner of Duran Drak. There are two possibilities: you were killed in a one-on-one battle, or you were betrayed. Karam's speculations were all correct. Saiyan's face immediately darkened. Then Karam confidently said, I feel it's very likely the second one. Saiyan asked doubtfully, Why do you think so? Karam then explained, You despise the holy sword very much. Therefore, I guess you don't have a good impression of it. Realizing it had guessed correctly, Karam flew in front of Saiyan and said, So your purpose is revenge. No matter how, always remember. If I find out you fail or lose heart, I will devour you. Karam smugly laughed, threatening him. Saiyan calmly swatted it away and mocked, Absorb me. I'm not stupid enough to let you do that. Karam was hit against the bookshelf, dizzy, and with a headache it lay unconscious on the ground. Saiyan chuckled, thinking, It still hasn't changed. It still has the same personality as in my previous life. With nothing to do, he stepped out of the tent. Seeing everyone around tense, Saiyan wondered, What's wrong? Everything seems chaotic. Emily ran over at this moment. Young master, you're awake. Saiyan asked her, Emily, what's wrong? Emily immediately replied, Yes, sir. Suddenly, the corpse of a high-level monster was discovered, lying at the entrance to the valley. Saiyan was startled, thinking tensely, Is she talking about that worm? Fearing he wouldn't understand, Emily explained the seriousness of the matter. It's been a long time since a monster like that last appeared near the camping area. Saiyan asked her, Anything else? Emily, confused, said, Yes, sir. Saiyan hurriedly asked again, Besides, is there anything else? Like discovering a suspicious person or something about me. Suddenly Icon approached and called, Young Master Saiyan. He respectfully bowed and said, The Duke wants to see you right now. Saiyan thought anxiously, This is bad. I can't deal with that monster's huge corpse right away. Recalling the remaining corpses, he thought to himself, Because the patrol soldiers suddenly appeared. Seiyan gritted his teeth anxiously. My plan to enjoy life before entering the academy. He entered Willius's tent and respectfully bowed. Father, I am here. Seiyan clung to the hope. Father won't realize I did it. Willius called him, come here, Seiyan. Sit down. Looking at his serious expression, Seiyan thought to himself, if he asks about yesterday's events, how should I explain it? Seiyan pursed his lips tightly, looking at Willius. Willius sat opposite Seiyan and began the interrogation. I'll be direct. What did you do last night? Seiyan awkwardly replied, I went to bed early because I was too tired. Willius suspiciously recalled what he had seen last night. Went to bed early, huh? But those slash marks were clearly Seiyan's swordsmanship. He frowned, looking straight at Seiyan. Did I overthink it? Seiyan put on an innocent, worried expression and asked, Why do you ask, Father? Willius looked at him and thought, it's hard to believe a child like this could handle a death worm. Moreover. Seiyan, seeing him remain silent, anxiously asked, Father, is something worrying you? Willius continued to observe him and then replied, You've probably heard about what happened near the camp last night, right? He probed. I still need to investigate further, but it seems there are traces of activity from the secret assassin organization, the Mist. Seiyan tensed up, his face serious as he asked, The Mist. Willius then explained, that's an organization that has existed for millennia. No one knows their true purpose. But they have assassinated countless nobles under the pretext of purging. Wherever they go, there's a characteristic black mist. But then one day they completely disappeared. The last time they were active was 300 years ago. But the death worm last night was enveloped in a black mist. The black mist is the trace left behind by the god Eru, the god of darkness, the god revered by the Mist organization, and also the root of their power. Willius affirmed, if my guess is correct, that Deathworm was killed by them and the monsters. Seiyan, hearing Willius's analysis, tensed up, truly astonishing. Just like that, Father could guess who was behind this, even though that organization was last seen 300 years ago. Willius didn't know his thoughts and seriously instructed, we don't know why they've reappeared, but you need to be careful. I will report this to the king and investigate further. Seiyan obediently replied, Yes, Father. He sighed in relief, thinking, so perhaps Father believes me now. Indeed, Willius was currently thinking, if Seiyan were involved with this organization, it would be truly absurd, especially since he's so young. Thinking this, Willius then said, That's all. Suddenly he asked, And who did you say visited today? Seiyan honestly replied, I heard the king would visit, but it was supposed to be today. Willius smiled and said, I also want to ask a favor of you. Seiyan wondered, What is it? Outside, a knight raised a horn and blew. A voice echoed everywhere. The king has arrived. Willius, leading the entire army, knelt in obeisance. Your subject, the Lord of Velius, respectfully greets your majesty. The king rode his horse over his face, joyful as he called, Willius. He dismounted and walked over. Helping Willius, who was kneeling on the ground up, the king said sincerely, We are old friends. There's no need for such excessive ceremony. Willius seriously said, But your majesty. Suddenly the king looked behind Willius and asked, Oh, is that the child? Seiyan knelt on the ground and respectfully bowed. I am honored, your majesty. I am Seiyan Vert, the youngest member of the Vert clan. The king gently looked at him and praised, so young yet already out fighting. Your children are truly different, Seiyan thought dejectedly. I wonder what Father wants me to do. Who knew he wanted me to introduce myself? He recalled in his previous life, he always had to hide in the house whenever the king came. To be trusted by Father, like this, is truly moving. He thought of himself on the upper floor looking through the window excitedly, telling Emily, Look, Emily, it's the king. Back then, Emily would always pull him back, saying, Come inside, young master. The king suddenly spoke, Splendor. I also want to introduce someone else. Small feet stepped down from the carriage. The white-haired princess appeared, bowed, and introduced herself. This is the 5th princess of the Usopp kingdom, Arin Severus. Seiyan recognized her as soon as he saw her, Arin Severus, the 5th tragic princess. He recalled father's request. I need you to escort Princess Erin on that day. At that time, Sion didn't understand the reason and asked, what? How so? Willius didn't say much, just instructed, don't worry. You just need to stay close to her. She's about your age. When you enter the academy, you'll meet her again. Sion lowered his head, recalling, I also remember meeting her in my previous life. A few times in classes at the academy. Willius continued to advise. Getting acquainted with the royal family isn't harmful. It won't last long, but I want you to befriend them. Cyan thought resentfully. But I don't want to at all. But I understand father's intention. Perhaps father wants me to have a relationship like his and the king's. He sighed thoughtfully. But father chose the wrong person. She can't be my friend. Cyan was helpless. Although I can't say the reason, because that's a future only I know. It's truly annoying, but I'll pretend to obey. Thinking this, he immediately followed Willius's and the king's procession ahead. Suddenly a groan sounded in Sayan's ear. Aaron coldly asked, why is that river red? Sayan wondered, you mean the Blood River. Hearing the river's name, Aaron doubted Blood River. Cyan then explained to her, this stream flows throughout Limi Valley. There's no complicated reason for the river to be red. Old or near-death injured monsters that can't survive will instinctively jump into the Blood River. Then their bodies decompose along the river and then transform mana, turning the river red. Irene, after hearing, flinched in horror. So it's all real flesh and blood? Sayan indifferently replied, that's right. They even drink and bathe in that river water. So it's disgusting. Don't go near that river. Aaron's face clearly showed disgust. So disgusting. What's at the end of the river? Sion continued to answer, the demon realm. Aaron wondered, the demon realm where demons live. Sion smiled teasingly. That's right. If you follow this river, you might even meet the demon king. Cyan smirked sinisterly. But who would be crazy enough to do that, just scaring her a bit? Suddenly the sky lit up brightly. A flare was shot into the sky. Aaron wondered and asked, what's that light? Cyan explained, that's the signal from the third outpost in the west. Yellow, the signal for the appearance of a demonic beast. His expression darkened, full of seriousness. Aaron was astonished. Are there monsters here? On the other side, Willius was ordering the knights. Protect the king. Scout escort. Knights, follow me to the third outpost in the west. Suddenly, the king spoke. Don't be like that, Willius. Willius doubtfully called, Your Majesty. The king raised his sword and coldly asked, do you think I came here to sightsee? I'm feeling very bored right now. Willius understood. Him sighed helplessly and replied, Yes, Your Majesty. The king turned and ordered his subordinates. We will join the raid on the demons. Kill them all, the knights responded with a shout. Yes, Your Majesty. Willius turned to Cyan and said, You will also participate, Cyan. He quickly replied, Yes, Father. Aaron anxiously asked, Can you fight demonic beasts? Cyan nodded and replied, Yes, but only as support from behind. You should go to a shelter. Unexpectedly, Aaron said, Take me with you. Cyan was surprised. What did this kid just say? The maid beside her also disagreed and wanted to persuade her. But Princess, however, Aaron shouted, You said you're my age, so I want to go too. Cyan reminded her, It's deadly. It's not a place to play. Aaron shouted angrily, I don't care. I want to go. No one can stop me. Cyan annoyedly called, Icon. Icon quickly approached and said, Yes, young master. Icon, a royal knight, will escort the princess to safety. He turned to Aaron and said, Let's go, princess. Aaron suddenly turned and pointed at Cyan, scolding, You traitor! How dare you treat a princess so disrespectfully? Cyan glared at her and said impatiently, Many knights might die just because of your stubbornness. Just one foolish moment can decide life or death on the battlefield. So do you dare to take responsibility? Responsibility for those lives. Cyan's aura was incredibly powerful. That scared Aaron. Her eyes welled up with tears. Her body trembled. Cyan paid no attention to her and turned to leave. Go back and cry like a baby princess. In the end, only Ekin, Aaron, and the maid remained there. A giant monster attacked downwards. With a body like Slim's, it had swallowed countless knights. The others simultaneously surrounded and attacked the monster. A sword was raised along with a commanding voice, into formation. "Protect the king and kill them all. Spare no demon," Willius loudly urged the knights. The army immediately charged into battle. Dion, Severus king of the Usurp kingdom, had 2 wives. Diana Quizzle was the first wife, but she had passed away. Cassandra Nepolis was the concubine considered a powerful judge of the kingdom. The previous queen had given birth to 2 grand princesses and a second princess. The current queen is the mother of the 3rd and 4th princes. However, Aaron Severus, the 5th princess, was a daughter of low birth, whose mother was a commoner. People treated her like a puppet princess because of her foreign blood, but she didn't care about others' opinions and always fulfilled her responsibilities as a member of the royal family, always studying harder than anyone else. Yet she was labeled a traitor by those who envied her. Then she was exiled by the royal family and the kingdom. Rumor has it the princess died alone from an illness on an island. Therefore, people called her the tragic princess. She should have lived a life. Happy people, if not greedy, someone like her living without ambition is better. Karam, after hearing the story, wondered, "Didn't your father in your previous life always say that to you?" Seon, while slaying monsters, retorted, "It's different. Politics in the royal family is inherently like that." The monster was struck by lightning magic. Watching the snail monsters fall one by one, Sion exclaimed, "Duke Kwa is definitely a talented person." The lightning-covered sword blade plunged into the ground. Dion, holding the sword, used the Holy Thunder technique. Instantly, a bolt of lightning struck down, hitting the monster. Sion, witnessing the whole thing, thought in awe, Emperor Dion is famous for being an 8th-level mage. If he hadn't ascended the throne, he would also have become the head of the Mages Association, looking at Dion's majestic back so different from Willius. Sion chuckled helplessly, thinking a mid-tier monster is probably nothing to him. Perhaps being a king is just his hobby. After everything was done, wine was laid out again. Looking at the wine bottle on the table, Dion sighed. "It's been a long time since we drank together, hasn't it, Villiat? Although when I drink alone I feel lonely." Willius replied seriously, "Forgive me, your majesty. I do not allow myself to drink on the battlefield." Suddenly Dion spoke up, asking, "By the way, about you asking me about the situation in the kingdom. Lately there have been many assassinations of nobles. This is worrying." Willius frowned and asked, "Do these assassinations have anything in common?" Dion replied, "Yes." His face serious, he said, "All the assassinated nobles were corrupt officials. Moreover, black fog appeared everywhere at the scenes." "What do you think?" Willius stroked his chin, pondering. Willius began to recount the situation here. "Yesterday I found traces of them here. It seems the assassin cult followers of the Black Fog Society have acted again." Dion nodded in agreement. "That makes sense, but you need to investigate thoroughly." Dion cheerfully poured wine and said, "Thank you for taking care of that trash." Willius reminded him again, "But I can't just sit by and watch them live in fear like that." Suddenly, Dion spoke up. "There's one more thing that troubles me," Willius wondered. "What is it?" Dion said slowly. "Those damn nobles are blabbering, blaming the 5th princess." Willius, astonished, understood. "Do you mean they are intentionally blaming Princess Aaron for those cases?" Dion recounted, "I refuted those baseless rumors to shut them up, but it seems a faction wants to take advantage of the girl." Dion seriously instructed, "I want to ask you a favor as a friend, not as a king if I pass away. Before you please take care of the girl." Willius replied with a serious face, "I, Willius Ver, obey your majesty's command," Dion said with satisfaction. "Thank you." Outside it was raining heavily. Emily suddenly asked, "Is that all?" Cyan was skeptical. "What else are you expecting?" Emily hurriedly said, "She's a princess. You know, you only escorted her here. At this rate it will be a long time before you get married." Looking at Emily's angry expression, Sayan was bewildered. "I'm not going on a date." Sayan stepped out of the tent. Before leaving, he instructed her, "While I'm gone, all the work is entrusted to you." Emily wondered, "Are you going to train again?" It's raining heavily. Sayan advised, don't worry and don't wait for me to do anything. Suddenly, a figure appeared from the front in the rain. Emily screamed in fear. Who's there? The shawl was taken off. That person asked him, where are you going? Aaron asked seriously. Excuse me, but if you're not busy, can you talk to me for a moment? Emily, upon seeing Aaron, immediately became excited. Her eyes lit up as she called out Princess. Outside the camp, countless guards were watching in the rain. Aaron observed her surroundings and then asked, how long have you been here? Sayan replied coldly, about a month. Then he asked, why did you come to see me? Aaron paused, startled. She glanced at him. Aaron turned to look at the excited Emily and then hesitantly said, could you give us a moment to talk privately? You keep staring? Sayan, embarrassed, ordered, go outside, Emily. Emily cheerfully left giggling. She said, all right then, hope you two have fun. As soon as Emily left, the atmosphere immediately became quiet, tense. Sayan thought contemptuously, have fun with a 10-year-old kid. No way, I'm 40 years old. At this moment, Aaron shyly spoke. Her cheeks flushed. I'm sorry about what happened earlier. I feel like I didn't behave as a princess should. Sayan scratched his head and replied, you don't need to worry. I also apologize for being rude. Aaron, seeing his apologetic look, chuckled and said, not at all. If I were you, I would have said the same thing. Her expression turned somber. You are recognized by so many people unlike me. Besides, you are also much more mature. Sayan raised an eyebrow, slightly thinking with some surprise. So she has such a personality. Suddenly, Aaron spoke up. You're also planning to join the academy, right? Or perhaps, guessing her intention, Sayan coldly refused. Sorry, but I don't think I can help you with anything. Aaron was startled and stunned. Sayan continued. If you came to make friends, please leave. Aaron said tremblingly. I just want us to have a good relationship. You're so difficult. Or do you also think I only have the princess's facade? At this moment, Aaron's expression changed. Two streams of tears flowed down her face. Sayan said nothing, neither refuting nor explaining. Aaron cried in distress. I understand. Being friends with me probably offers you no benefit. Sorry for wasting your time. I must be blind. I thought at least we could talk together. But it turns out you're completely different from Mr. Akko. The familiar name suddenly echoed. Sayan froze, stunned. He quickly turned his head to look at her. Huh, she just said. Anger welled up. Sayan grabbed her arm. His strength made Aaron cry out in pain. Unable to escape his arm, Aaron shouted loudly, what do you want? Sayan asked coldly. Acho. No, how do you know my older brother? Aaron, wincing in pain, supported her arm and replied, last year while strolling around the Royal Academy I met him. He advised me not to care about others' thoughts, just focus on being a princess. Sayan's eyes glazed over. He couldn't believe his ears. Advised. Advise my ass, I know that demonic bastard's temperament better than anyone. From the moment she met him, everything was already arranged. The plan to overthrow Princess Aaron. Sayan gritted his teeth and growled, I'm warning you. Suddenly, a loud noise from outside made them both stop their conversation. Emily tried to run from a distance, calling out, young master. She hurriedly shouted, hurry and run. But it was too late. From above, the tent roof collapsed. A monster holding a pillar smashed straight into Sayan's tent right in front of Emily. The surrounding knights also shouted in panic, damn it, it's the young master's tent. Hurry up, see if the young master is in danger. Emily knelt heavily on the ground. Her throat felt choked, unable to speak for a long time. She cried and wailed miserably. The calls for the young master echoed in the camp, but didn't move the monster to pity. Meanwhile, at Willius and Dion's camp, after hearing their subordinates' report, both were astonished. What? Dion's face darkened as he asked, what did you say? The knight who brought the news immediately replied, high-level monsters just ambushed the camp in the border region. I think the princess is there. Hearing that, Dion hurriedly stood up and ordered all royal troops. Go to the camp immediately. I must ensure the princess is safe and sound. The knight quickly accepted the order. Yes, your majesty. At this moment, Dion pondered, the girl is at the camp. Who did she go to meet? On the other side, several monsters were wreaking havoc together. They carried weapons and moved around the camp. Cyan observed and assessed, from one side deathworms and ogres. They usually live in deeper parts of the valley, but suddenly appeared here. Something must have changed. Behind him were Emily, Aaron, and other knights hiding, waiting for a chance to counterattack. Just as Cyan was thinking, "Is it my fault?" Emily called out, "Young master?" Tears and snot streamed down her face as she said, "I thought you had really gone. From now on, I will never leave your side again." Back then, right when the tent ceiling was smashed down. With his reaction, Cyan managed to grab Aaron and run out of the tent. In time, he snorted contemptuously, "I even killed a demon king in the past, as if those ogres could kill me." Suddenly, Aaron asked, "Do you think the knights in the camp are all right?" Emily's eyes sparkled, confidently, replied, "Princess, don't worry. The knights are very strong." Aaron covered her mouth, sobbing. "If I hadn't come here, things wouldn't have turned out like this. All the knights who came with me." The surrounding knights hurriedly comforted her. "We're fine, princess. Protecting you as knights of the kingdom is our duty." The remaining knights smiled brightly in agreement. "He's right, princess. We will protect you with our lives." The scene was touching. Suddenly Saiyan shouted, "Move aside." From behind that knight, a giant hand appeared. It squeezed the knight tightly, causing him to cough up blood. Just like that in front of Aaron, the knight who had just sworn to protect her was caught by the monster. His tragic scream echoed. Before Aaron could react, Cyan quickly rushed forward to shield her. Step back. The monster laughed smugly as if it had found its target. Just with this gesture of its, Saiyan confirmed, "I knew it. It's targeting me." The monster threw the other knight away and stepped forward. Saiyan quickly ordered the remaining people, "I will distract the ogre, you take the princess and hide." Emily immediately obeyed and replied, "Yes," making Saiyan pause slightly. Sensing Emily had embraced someone and fled, veins popped on Saiyan's face. He thought irritably, "Is she really in such a hurry to leave Emily?" Holding Aaron didn't forget to call the remaining knight. "What are you still doing? Knight, let's go." The monster had waited for a long time. It roared angrily and raised its hand, wanting to smash down. Cyan gripped the sword in his hand and rushed forward. He quickly jumped up and slashed towards the monster. While attacking, he wondered, "Why am I attracting these high-level monsters? It feels like they smelled something from me." Karam emerged laughing and reminding, "You have drunk the blood of countless monsters to become stronger. That's why you smell like them. It would be strange if they didn't target you." Cyan said angrily, "You knew this too. Why are you only telling me now?" Karam laughed sinisterly. "Have you forgotten what I want is your body?" Cyan mercilessly squeezed Karam, making it cry out in pain. He stopped fleeing. Then he summoned the demon sword Karam, making it panic. "What are you doing?" Cyan impatiently scolded. "Shut up!" Karam cried and begged, "Treat me more gently, please." Cyan stood before the monster 10 times his size, coldly replied, "I don't care." "How many monsters are targeting me?" Cyan charged forward. The ogre also simultaneously swung its fist. He quickly jumped into the air and slashed fiercely at its throat. With just one cut, Cyan had decapitated the ogre. He landed gently on the ground as if he had just performed an artistic act. Cyan sighed in relief and said, "Now no one can see. Drink some high-level monster blood." Around him were countless ferocious monsters. Karam exclaimed excitedly, "It's like a grand feast." Suddenly Cyan's expression turned horrified. "Wait a minute. That is..." From a distant rock ledge a monster landed. Cyan realized in horror, a dragon. The dragon roared angrily. Karam calmly retorted, "It's not. It's still young. It probably smelled you too." Cyan, excited, laughed sinisterly. He thought to himself, "Why the dragon appeared here doesn't matter. What matters is that I catch it." His body was enveloped in a red mist. Karam said in astonishment, "Hey, only to see Saiyan command, you must catch it. Ah no, you must eat its flesh." He pointed his sword toward the dragon. Elsewhere, the ogres were being struck by countless lightning bolts. Dion, after dealing with that one, asked, "This is the last one, right?" Willius nodded and replied, "Yes, it seems so." Dion frowned and asked, "What about the princess and your son?" Willius replied worriedly, "From the camp outwards I see no traces at all. Dion sighed comfortingly. It's all right. You must be very worried about your son too. Willius frowned. What's there to worry about the boy? The most important thing is the princess. Dion asked, confused, You're too cold. Is that boy your biological son? Only to see Willius coldly say, The Vert family must know how to protect themselves. At this moment, a royal knight ran up to report, Your Majesty, we have found the princess. Dion was astonished. Really? Aaron ran over calling Father Dion, also hurriedly ran over calling Aaron. He worriedly asked his daughter, Are you injured? Aaron hastily said, Hurry, father. We have to save him. Dion wondered. Save who? Aaron replied, crying Saiyan because of me. Willius behind them had a gloomy expression, Dion said tensely. Calmly, Tell me. Willius stood before Emily and asked, Are you Saiyan's servant? Emily immediately replied, Yes, it is I, sir. Willius's eyes filled with killing intent asked, Tell me what happened to Saiyan. Emily, frightened by his aura, thought, So scary, I've never seen the Duke this terrifying. She hurriedly replied, The young master acted as a decoy to buy us time to escape. Willius's eyes narrowed further. The knight beside him quickly spoke up. I remember where he was at that time. Just give the order, sir. I will go with others to save the young master. Dion, hearing this, urged, What are you waiting for? Villiat, hurry up. Who would have thought Willius would say 2 words, not necessary? The whole group stared at him in astonishment. Dion, stunned, asked Villiat, Are you serious? Willius said calmly, We must resolve the situation first if the camp collapses. The monsters will flood into the kingdom. We must rebuild this place immediately. This is the only way to prevent more casualties. Emily couldn't believe her ears. She asked in panic, What about the young master? Regarding this, Willius only said coldly, He did his duty by keeping the princess safe. The Vert family must be like that. Aaron was terrified and worried. Why is it wrong? No. She despaired, blaming herself. It's still my fault. Right at this moment, a roar echoed everywhere. The whole group was terrified. This scream? Irene looked up at the sky in fear. That sound. A dragon only to see in the sky, the dragon that had confronted Saiyan. Suddenly, Aaron's eyes widened. She called his name, Saiyan. It turned out Saiyan was currently clinging to the leg of the flying dragon. He clung tightly to the dragon's leg, crying in terror.